The first guitar that I ever got was a 1939 Martin 0018 acoustic guitar that my parents gave me for Christmas in 8th grade. And I didn't really understand what that guitar was at that point. I just thought it was just a hand-me-down acoustic guitar that my uncle had bought, years before in 1940. And as I grew up and had learned how to play on that guitar, it built huge sentimental value to me. And I started to really appreciate that guitar for what it was. Not only a vintage guitar, but the first guitar that I ever laid my hands on, and that's what began my love affair with guitars. In 1996, I was working for a steel company in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'd been building guitars for a few years prior to that. And a Japanese company came along and bought 10 guitars, which was worth more than my year's salary selling steel. So I was at a crossroads. Was I going to continue down the corporate path that my father and my grandfather had been on, or was I going to jump ship and live my dream of being in the music business and building guitars? And the corporate world was just grinding me down day in and day out, and it was just sucking the life out of me, and I just didn't have the passion that I felt when I was building guitars. So on April 29th of 1996, I walked out the door of the steel company and got rid of that safety net of the steady income and decided to start building guitars for the rest of my life. One of my favorite things to do is to find wood that has a story behind it. And for instance, in 1989, Hurricane Hugo blew through North Carolina and knocked down about 50 black walnut trees on my great uncle's farm. So I would go back to North Carolina, pick up some of this wood, and brought it back to Los Angeles, and I would build these guitars out of this. And I feel like a tree that had such a catastrophic ending to its life imparts this energy into this guitar that is going to make some insane rock and roll. I like to find materials that have a history to them. I completely geek out looking for pieces that are unique to each guitar. Like I'll scour junk graveyards for old gauges and old aircraft aluminum and bolts, and I look for old gas cans and old oil cans that are from the 40s and 50s, and I recently did a guitar that had old Budweiser cans from the 40s and 50s that were steel. So I'll find these pieces, and I feel like once you rescue that and you kind of recycle it, you put it into a guitar and it has a brand new life. It's crazy for me to think that I'm building guitars for some of the biggest rock stars on the planet, and I'm doing it out of my little garage here in Hollywood. And it just goes to show that you don't need a huge factory and a ton of overhead and a bunch of employees. You can do it by yourself, and all you have to do is just have the drive and the dream and the desire to do it. And I want to pass that along to my kids and teach them that if you are going to take the road less traveled, it's not exactly the safe road, but it's going to be 1,000 times more rewarding. And eventually I want them to carry on this legacy, and they have to change the name to McSwain & Sons Guitars.